So welcome to the 2023 Methane Emissions Datathon, organized by several groups of people who will tell you more about them individually. It's a pleasure to have you here. This Datathon's been delayed a few months here and there, but we've finally got things together enough in order to kick off here. We've got a period now of boot camps and preparing before the competition actually starts, but we're good enough ready to go here. We're here at SLB Calgary Headquarters on the traditional lands of Treaty 7 territory. So I'm David Shackleton, one of the organizers from SBE Calgary and Untapped Energy. And I'd like to acknowledge that these lands are home to the Stoney and Nakota nations, the Wesley, Chiniki, and Bears Paw, three nations of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Piikani, Kainai, and Siksika, and the Tsuut'ina of the Dene people. Treaty 7 territory is also shared with the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. We acknowledge the past, present, and future generations of these nations who help us steward this land, as well as honor and celebrate this place. The three main organizations that have been organizing this Datathon are here: SBE Calgary, Canadian Heavy Oil Association, and Untapped Energy. So I'm just going to ask Kim to come up to say a few words on behalf of SBE Calgary.
Hey everybody, and welcome. My name is Kim Warcheski, and I'm a past president for the SPE Calgary section. SPE stands for the Society of Petroleum Engineers, and we're a group solely run by volunteers who are professionals in the energy industry. SPE's mission is to disseminate and exchange technical knowledge, but to me, it's always been so much more than that. What really makes SPE special is the amazing career and personal development opportunities and the great network that we've been able to build. In addition, being a key part of the energy transition that we'll no doubt be seeing in our lifetimes and helping mold how the petroleum sector fits into this is incredibly motivating. For the last 3 years, SPE has partnered with Untapped Energy to put on this competition because we truly feel that data is the way of the future. This year, our problem statement is focused on methane emissions, a topic that's coming into the limelight, not just in our own industry, but also globally.
My name is Jen Turner. I am so excited to be here at this special occasion. When I heard about this event, I was so excited because I've never seen anything like it. And I just want to welcome everyone here. I'm joining from Victoria, which is unceded territory, so of the Lekwungen peoples, and Songhees, Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ First Nations. And I'm a board member of a fantastic volunteer-run organization called CHOA, or the Canadian Heavy Oil Association. And what we do is we're known for combining technical events and knowledge sharing opportunities with opportunities to socialize and connect with each other. It's because we know that together we are both smarter and stronger. And I have no doubt that our lucky participants along with us on this journey are going to experience that directly as part of this fantastic and collaborative learning opportunity. So yes, I mentioned it's a special occasion. I even kind of wore a sparkly jacket. It may not come across so much on your screen, but that's okay, because I'm also joined by Nael Sedek, who is a fellow board member and also an impressive leader in energy innovation and technology, who is attending in person tonight. And we're happy to connect further with participants who are interested in joining our organization or just finding out more about our work. And yes, we are absolutely thrilled to be a partner for this special event, and we want to welcome everyone in attendance in person and remotely.
Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Tim Chan. I am one of the co-founders of Untapped Energy Association, and it's such a pleasure for me to be part of this event. In fact, I'd say that it's really special because this is the 5th Datathon event that we have been a part of since the beginning of Untapped Energy's story. It actually all started because of a Datathon. So you'll get to hear a little bit more details about what a Datathon is, but Untapped Energy is a federally registered nonprofit that supports its membership that consists of data and analytics practitioners, primarily in the oil and gas and in the energy industry. But I think, as we all know, the industry is changing. And so for Untapped Energy to be part of this transition and this journey, it's fabulous. So back in 2018, we had the inspiration to put on a Datathon. And at that point, many of us were like, what is a Datathon? Well, we were to find out that it's a time-bound, very short event where you gather people together, you have some data and a particular problem that you're trying to solve, and then you just have a lot of fun doing so. So our very first Datathon was held at the Bow Valley College, and it was held over the course of a weekend. Well, 5 years have passed and we have learned a few things since then. When you are trying to use publicly available data, it turns out that publicly available data requires a lot of cleaning up. And so you can spend the entire weekend cleansing and wrangling data. The other thing that we had discovered is that you need to be pretty precise about what problem it is that you're solving. To kind of give you a comparison, the very first Datathon, we were trying to solve problems around aging oil and gas infrastructure in the province of Alberta, plus corporate social responsibility, plus water usage, plus how it is that we can repurpose some of the oil and gas assets. So it became, we were trying to solve world hunger, actually. But with each and every Datathon that has happened after that, we took some learnings and helped to make the experience even more excellent for those that are participating. And so now, this is a 2-month-long event where the first month will be about how can we learn a little bit more about how we can use data and analytic practices in order to solve problems. So you'll get a chance to hear about Bootcamps shortly from Louisa. And then also to actually have data that has already been cleansed and pre-modeled. That helps to make the whole experience that much better. So we've come a long way. And so now you get to participate in this year's Datathon. But it's more than just about the Datathons. And I really appreciated what Jennifer said about the community aspect of an event like this. Yes, it's a lot of fun to be part of a competition and to compete together. I'll talk a little bit about some of the benefits of being part of this, even some of the prizes. But at the end of the day, and this is why Untapped Energy exists, it is about community. It is how we can connect together so that we can make each other better. And so a big part of what Untapped Energy does is to help its members to upskill and to even consider pivoting out of their existing sector or role right now into something that is maybe more meaningful, that aligns with their value systems, and to make the world a better place. And how Untapped Energy does that is, yes, we help and get involved in data events like this, but we also meet on a monthly basis. So we have our monthly meetups that happen on the 3rd Tuesday of each month, where you would get to hear about how folks in the industry are using data and analytics to solve problems. We put together networking events. So these are larger scale, technology-centered networking events where we just gather people together from different parts of the ecosystem in technology and just see what kind of interesting collisions might happen there. And so at the end of the day, we're hoping that all of us can be part of this amazing experience to go through the next 2 months together. I will tell you up front that it's not going to be an easy journey as you kind of go through it to understand the data set and to understand the problem. there will be times where you're questioning yourself as to why it is that you're doing this. But I can assure you, having gone through a handful of these events, that it's well worth it, because at the end, you're going to feel a sense of gratification that you actually leaned into a meaningful problem and that you got to use actual data to try to progress that problem. By participating in this Datathon, there's actually many benefits that you can experience. Probably one of the most important ones is that you get to lean into and learn more about a problem that's affecting all of us. And so this is in the area of methane emissions. You get to use a real data set. I know sometimes particularly when we're taking maybe some online learnings, you get to play around with synthetic data sets, but this actually is a real data set. You get to acquire some practical data and analytics and data science applications. So you'll learn some of those concepts through the boot camps, and then you'll have the opportunity to actually apply that through the Datathon itself. The collisions and the collaborations that happen through an event like this is invaluable. This is where lasting friendships are created. You get to participate in analytics, maybe learn something about machine learning, get to do some data storytelling. So when you think about the entire cycle of the value of data, well, that's all contained within one event like this. And then finally, you get to amplify your own brand. So having the opportunity to work on a team, and then finally to present to subject matter experts and industry leaders, it's a great way to showcase not only your ability to learn and to acquire skills, but to try to influence change and thought and how it is that we can really make some progress in this really important topic here. A special feature. So for all of the participants of this Datathon event, you will receive a personal digital wallet. So what is a personal digital wallet? So this is essentially a digital identity tool that is for you to keep. It is a way for you to be able to start collecting and managing and sharing your digital credentials in a safe and secure way. Many of you may be professionals, you belong to professional associations where you have a designation or some additional validation. Well, this is a way that you're able to manage those. You can take control of your professional verifications, protect the integrity of all of your professional development hours. So if you happen to be a professional engineer or an accountant or any other professionals that have specific learning requirements or professional development requirements, this is another format by which you can manage those. This digital wallet is powered by Microsoft Entra, which is the first enterprise-grade global platform for identity. And throughout the event, you get to earn digital badges. So when you attend our boot camps, and even just by participating in the Datathon, you get credentials, digital, that you can then store in this digital wallet. So that's a really special feature for all participants of this Datathon. And then, of course, there's prizes as well, too. There's nothing like gamifying something to have a little bit of friendly competition. We have cash prizes. So cash prizes are awarded to the first, second, and third place teams in this particular Datathon. Okay, so lots that are happening, as you can see here, just in terms of this 2-month long event. Starts with tonight. So this is our kickoff. So for some 30 or so in the room, and then I don't even know how many are on Zoom. But this is great. This is a great community of participants. So we're grateful to SLB. We're at the SLB headquarters to learn about the details of this Datathon event. So there'll be more details coming up. And then starting tomorrow, we actually have a whole series of boot camps. So the idea of boot camps is because we recognize that everybody comes from a diverse data and analytics background. And to prepare yourself for when the competition begins, it's great to start learning some of these concepts. And so we have a series of boot camps that will range everything from data extraction to using different coding languages to do some of your data cleansing to perhaps some visualizations with specific tools. So these are kind of bite-sized chunks way that you can learn a little bit about the entire data cycle, so that by the time we begin the competition, you'll have some of that knowledge. Okay, now by attending these boot camps, it's not going to graduate you to be a bona fide data scientist, but at the very least, it gives you a common language so that by the time you enter the competition, you'll have a sense of where it is that you can lean into. And then February 6th on Monday will be the competition launch. So we're going to be back here in this space, so you can join us in person. We'll also have it online as well too. But that marks the beginning of the competition. This is where now you'll have the access to the data set. You'll have a better appreciation and understanding of the problem statement. You'll get into teams and you'll start with the competition. Competition runs until February 26th, so it's roughly 4 weeks long. So you'll have some time to work through the problem. Because we want to keep inviting people to join us, registration actually closes after the competition starts. This just gives people an opportunity who may not have heard of this Datathon, who may not have attended any of the boot camps that we're putting on, to still be able to participate in this. So registration does close on February 12th. And then once the competition closes, we do want to give our judges an opportunity to review the submissions and to provide their adjudication and assessment. That leads us all to Tuesday, March the 7th, where we will have our closing ceremony. And that's going to happen at the Calgary Petroleum Club. So what a great venue to be able to celebrate, quite a long duration of working really hard towards this, and we get to celebrate together. So that will happen on Tuesday, March the 7th at the Calgary Petroleum Club. Okay, so there'll be more invitations that will be sent out so that you can bookmark all of these into your calendars and just kind of keep track of the timing of that. There will be a Datathon survival guide that goes out to all participants as well too. So you don't have to worry about getting the slides or taking a picture of the slides. There will be a survival guide that goes out to all of the registered participants.
Hi everyone, my name is Luisa Porras. I'm helping to organize the bootcamps. Essentially, these sessions, like mini courses and presentations, are to help you guys prepare for the competition and develop the skills needed to solve the challenge. We are still working on the final schedule for these bootcamps and getting some other presentations confirmed. But so far we have the Emissions 101 and the mini course, which is Introduction to Deep Learning. We also will have some networking events, which are the Hangouts on February 16 and 28. These two events are going to be in person here in Calgary, and essentially it's going to be a great opportunity for you to all connect and know each other. In terms of the bootcamps are going to be virtual, and we're going to record the sessions. And in terms of the slides and also the Python code and the notebooks, we're going to distribute all of that. And yeah, during the competition, we will have kind of like a Q&A session with some of the instructors. So in case you have questions regarding the actual challenge, you can ask them there.
Okay, so we've got a comprehensive data package together for you, and we'll share that with you pretty soon, probably via Slack. We can talk about Slack, but that's probably the best way for us to communicate. So James Ung of Payson Systems has very dedicatedly put together this data package. It's very comprehensive, and we used to call it we used to have a survival guide, which is now been rolled up inside this data package. It's a PDF, and you can look through it and refer to it whenever you're feeling a little lost. But it contains the problem statement itself, details about open source licensing, the work that you're doing, what happens to it. Essentially, it's all open source, and we'd like you to share your source codes and maybe include them in your presentations. It includes a few details about the boot camps. It includes the competition rules, the submission procedure, the model performance metrics and scoring criteria, communication networking tools, key dates, and addresses to the data sets.
So historically, if you've participated in the Datathons in the past, we generally divide the Datathon into kind of two different sections. So the first one that we want to really see from you, which is the primary focus, is for you to be able to take that data and give us a story, right? We'll be providing the kind of the case studies. We'll provide you with kind of the overall treetop scenario of what we're looking at when it comes to methane emissions. But we wanted you to tell us a story. We wanted to tell us kind of why we're doing this, what you think is important, what other sources of data. So you're not limited to just the data set that we're going to be providing you, which is it just so happens to be an open source data set from NASA, identifying emissions based on their satellite imagery. But we want you to be able to take all the skills that you've acquired. You know, you're all professionals, and you're able to take different aspects of, you know, both your professional experience, perhaps your life experience, for perhaps any kind of other organizations that you've been participating in. Take those skills, those analytical skills, could be visualization skills. It could be skill sets around emissions if you are deeply involved in that industry. And we want you to present us a story of, you know, how may a stakeholder reduce their emissions? How may a stakeholder take the information that you provided and turn it into something meaningful, something actionable? And I think that's really the big chunk of it. We do also have a portion of the data set that James will have curated to be able to kind of test the machine learning or the actual quantification part of what you've been doing with your boot camps, or some of the videos that we will release. And that will be basically, you know, whoever is closest in terms of matching real life data versus what you're testing out. So typically what happens here is that we'll give you some sample data. You're going to try some algorithms to see how close you can get to your sample data. And then we're going to pit your machine learning code or your machine learning algorithm against a blind set of data that the machine has never seen before. And we're going to see how close you come to that. That's meaningful from a quantification perspective, because at the end of the day, when we're looking at emission data, we really want the numbers to count. That's what we're really after at the end of the day. So not only is there the storytelling part, which is the primary focus of the Datathon, there's going to be a small scoring component when it comes to the quantification of how close perhaps you can get your algorithm to match up with a blind set, so that we can validate, we can say, hey, maybe this is a good use case for future prediction of actual emission rates from various sources.
The data specifically is coming from NASA. I don't know a great deal about this program, but you'll find out more. They outfitted an airplane. I put a post on LinkedIn of this actual airplane. It looks a bit like the shuttle that they used to use. It's kind of smaller version of the shuttle that goes up. This is the inside of it with their instrumentation. And it's looking down on primarily North America, primarily the oil and gas parts of the US and Alberta and Saskatchewan. I'm not sure exactly which test data James has selected, but it's probably from one of these regions that's being pointed out on this map. So again, this is from James. So top right there, you've got a simple training, a set of training photos. One has a plume and the other has not a plume, or it doesn't have a plume. That's a simple training set. And then getting more complicated, you've got the plume plus a location of the actual plume. One challenge may be to identify the point source of that plume. Where is it coming from? Maybe to identify the the place, the facility, or the object that's emitting the methane? Can you identify that there's a building there, for example, or can you identify, for example, a pipeline or an agricultural feedlot? So that's another challenge. So is it a plume? Is it not? What's the point source of the plume? Can you identify the facility that it's coming from, or the pond, or some natural part of the planet, maybe? Segmenting, like identifying the outline of the facilities. Evaluation criteria, the scoring criteria that the judges will be following.
Basic breakdown here. Maybe I'll go through it quickly here. So that first one, data cleaning, organization, description, augmentation. We're looking at exploratory data analysis, right? This data set from what I've previewed is quite clean. It's quite easily read and accessible already. But we want to just see as part of your final code or as part of your final submission, it's not all code, right? And I'll talk about that in a second. Is, how are you organizing that data? What are you doing with that data to basically come to a conclusion or come to a series of conclusions or recommendations? Its weight is very little, so I would say it may not be as important for this particular Datathon, only because the data that James has already taken out is quite clean. The next one will be fairly interesting as well. So the modeling, the interpretation, what are you doing? Why are you doing certain things? What is your rationale behind, categorizing A, B, and C? So you see a lot of this is very much like, you went to junior high and got to show your work, your steps in order, kind of a deal when you're dealing with a math problem. Although here it's more to do with, what types of insights and why are you correlating those insights? One of the most popular things that we always see is, causation doesn't mean correlation, or I think it's the other way around. Sorry for the misquote there if it happens to be, but, what kind of evidence are you able to pull from outside sources to kind of support your claims? The third portion there is the actual quantification, the prediction model. How accurate is it? Can I replicate it? So the question online, I believe, what kind of tools can I use? Really, you can use any tool as long as the judges can replicate it and we can duplicate your code. And you're not, I think there's a line about plagiarism or taking other people's codes. I'm sure this shouldn't be happening, but are we able to replicate your code? What's its usability like? How accurate is it? That will be part of your rating. The last part of your rating, at least for me, is the most important, even though it has the 30% weighting on it, is your final presentation and your storytelling. I don't know if it's the same format this year, but usually we're going to be asking you as participants to submit a 5 to 10 minute video presentation as well. I forget if we're doing that online or in person as well this year, but part of your presentation, whether it's going to be a video format or a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation, is to be able to articulate your findings, your conclusions, what you've gained insight into a very concise, and abbreviated but usable format. And I think judges really hone in on that, right? Not all of us are technically minded. Not all of us, get into the nitty-gritty details of it. We do like a story. We do like to be able to go, okay, what's the big picture here? How is all that number crunching and all that, data behind the scenes get wrapped up into a story? And are you able to tell that story so that we can understand it? And basically further, improve the world by using the results that you've gained from that. So that would be kind of that high level discussion on the evaluation criteria.
Yeah, briefly the rules. I'm not going to read all these out, but they're around, team size there. Just gone through that one. Minimum 2, maximum 7. No plagiarizing, but yes, you can use online resources. And these rules and the method for presenting your findings will be clarified at the competition opening ceremony.
So really quickly, we had some great contributions from our sponsors this year. We couldn't do it without them. The wine, the Coca-Cola, the bubbly, the food, we wouldn't be eating that without our sponsors. So I really want to take time to thank them. A couple cool things that's also coming around with our sponsors is our platinum sponsor is Northwest Capital in conjunction with Cube. Cube is basically a continuous methane emissions monitoring technology. They are Ian McGregor, who's the founder of Northwest Capital. He's instrumental in building the Alberta carbon trunk line behind the Northwest refinery, enhanced energy, injecting CO2 into the ground. So really interesting guy. He's going to do our keynote at the closing ceremonies. It will be a fantastic presentation if it's anything like any of the other presentations Ian has put together. Really inspiring, really interesting individual. We also have Sam Hayes from Suncor, who's the general manager of analytics there, who's going to do the opening presentation, opening ceremony keynote. It's going to get everyone inspired here. Sam, I don't know him, but I've heard he brings a lot of energy to the room. So look forward to that. Again, also want to thank our bronze sponsors, WestGen, Obsidian Engineering, and ITIQ.